Welcome to the second Snapped Windsor podcast episode. Today we are talking a new way of giving as a young and emerging philanthropist, a way to show your soul in support of mental health, and how to start a riot to learn about cancer research and how it affects your lives. Plus a special bonus conversation with the two Snapped Windsor photographers who you will recognize the most. Enjoy the episode. Today we have Noah Tepperman, who is the founding chair of the United Way Emerging Philanthropists. Welcome, Noah.
Thanks, Dan.
Glad to have you here. And so I understand that this is a new initiative through United Way that you started. But tell me. I know your family has a history of getting involved, charities, fundraiser. Tell me what your experience was locally in Windsor and beyond of what that model looked like.
Okay. So I guess the first thing I think of is the gala.
Yeah.
I'm not a golfer, or golf tournament would probably be on that list too. But fundraiser after fundraiser after fundraiser for a whole host of initiatives. I think that's great. One of the things that I love about Windsor, Essex is people see a need, they see an opportunity, and their commitment just kind of captures them and pulls them into doing something, which is a terrific part of our fabric, that level of sort of commitment and a desire to make an impact. But it was exhausting and it felt repetitive. And it was, my personal experience of it was going to great events, seeing great people, having a good time, but you could sort of change the names or the faces of the organizations and it would sort of be the similar thing. It was being involved in committees. That was part of the engagement. To a different extent, it was the opportunity sometimes to do some volunteering. But I never felt like I got the mix of all of those things coming together. As somebody who is committed to the community and connected to a number of organizations and really wanting to make a difference, the process of supporting those organizations was just kind of leaving me feeling like something was missing. It wasn't that there was something wrong with it per se, but I wasn't as fulfilled as I wanted to be. I had been exposed to some other ideas that people were engaging in other communities. And when United Way approached me with this concept, which was really about creating relationships with people, where that was the focus, not coming with their hand out at an event, but saying, we really want to connect you with the organization, and to do so over a long period of time that sort of starts now. That was different. That was something that I didn't see really any organization doing in the community. And then the fact that they came to me with that was really exciting. And I thought, this is great. The fact that they were also really looking at a population that I think is historically underserved in many communities, but where I know that a lot of people feel is underserved in this community, specifically, a younger population. And we started by talking about millennials, but millennials specifically refers to people who were born in a certain time frame. As an initiative, this is going to be successful beyond millennials. So we're really focusing on what we're calling emerging adults. Got it. People who are coming into their 20s, coming out of an educational program into the workforce. I thought, who else is doing that in this community powerfully too? So I was, sign me up.
Great. So what kind of work, I know especially millennials and it is an interesting age because people might have debt, they might not know all the different options that are available to get involved with, but what kind of needs would you say that young adult age range has, and how does this program serve them, and how does Emerging Philanthropists work?
It's a great question. And, I think there's need is potentially a word, but it's also an opportunity. Part of it is this, it's another way to look at the course of your life and the kind of impact that you want to have. People who are at that age are really starting to think about, or have started to think about, their future in a very different way for probably the first time in their lives. You're thinking about, okay, what job am I getting? What career path have I been working towards? So they've thought about it professionally. They've probably started to think about it financially. Maybe they've started to think about it socially. Some of them may have made long-term relationship commitments. I know it's a little bit, sort of on the earlier side. But I don't think that many people have thought about their future from a philanthropic perspective. When you don't, at the start of your career, most people don't have a lot of resources to work with, and you've got a lot of expenses to deal with, whether it's your education, whether it's home or things like that. But to think about the impact that you can make over your life from a philanthropic perspective is a real opportunity, because just because you can't do something today doesn't mean that you can't be building towards something specific. And creating the opportunity for people to just start thinking about that, just add that new thought into the way that they look at the next 15, 20, 40 years, whatever it is, and to be planning for that in a similar way that hopefully all of them are starting to plan financially for their eventual retirement. That was a need the community had. It's not necessarily a need that any one individual has, but it is an opportunity.
Great. And tell me a little bit about, I just heard it for the first time as we were chatting, your idea of leadership giving and what that means.
Yeah. So going back to that point that, so many activities and events in the community are about a financial ask. We wanted to do something different. And, to be able to have programming, to have events for members of the initiative without having to ask them to also be donating to United Way in the process was something that was really important to us. And, as the chair with, my terrific steering committee, looking at how we could really build that relationship, be providing something meaningful to United Way, but also something meaningful for the members, said, what could we do there? And so what we came up with was almost a membership fee, if you will. So to be an Emerging Philanthropist member, you're making a multi-year financial commitment to United Way that starts at an entry-level point of $250, but then over the course of the step-up plan takes you to a leadership giving level with United Way. Developing leaders. And when I say leaders, I don't mean people who are in charge, but I mean leadership. The concept that I'm really coming from for leadership is, creating the opportunity for other people to make a difference in an area of their life that's important for them. Giving at a leadership level changes your relationship with the philanthropic experience. There are a lot of different kinds of giving. They're all important. But to be able to function as a leader because you've got the commitment of your time and your energy and your finances really changes what's possible. And so that was really important for us. It also, that plus working with program sponsors and our primary sponsor is Libra Financial, who we're really very grateful to, gave us the opportunity to have events and programs for our members and say, we may need your help to cover some of the costs of expenses, but this isn't a fundraiser. We're not going to be giving you a silent auction here. We're not going to be asking you to make an additional donation. You've done that way, and we've got this plan in place to be able to do it. And I think like a lot of situations where nobody's done this before, there can be a certain amount of anxiety or trepidation about, oh my God, how are people going to respond to this? And the take up has been terrific. It's transparent. We're setting expectations for people quite clearly about what that relationship looks like financially and what the initiative will be providing for people who are a part of it. It's worked out very effectively, I think, for everybody so far. And
I do want to know that, there's a lot of things that you could get involved with, and why this specific thing, and on a personal level, why this, and what does it mean to you?
Yeah, it's another great question. I guess part of it was, seeing that United Way was really prepared to sort of jump into the water and sort of be the first one into the pool, so to speak, with this kind of a program. In terms of the things we've talked about, really working with a younger demographic and giving them the kind of attention and opportunity that they really deserve. And for myself, as somebody who's coming out of that demographic into an older demographic, it gives me the opportunity to be that bridge. It gives me the opportunity to help create that with that group, for that group, and then ultimately to be able to step out of the role and allow more people really from within that group to be a part of it while continuing to work with United Way with the benefit of everything that I've learned, and to be able to continue to support the initiative from afar, from other aspects of my work with United Way.
Got it. And you mentioned, so what are the aspects of the program? You mentioned there are a couple different pillars. Or did you call them?
Yeah.
What are they, and what can people expect if they get involved?
Okay, so there are four sort of key pillars in terms of what we want to be able to deliver to the members of the initiative. First one is social programming. The second one is hands-on volunteering. There's networking and professional development, and then there is a certain amount of fundraising involved with it. All of those things are key. We want members of the program to have a relationship with United Way. We really want them over time, as I said, to become leaders, sort of brand ambassadors for what United Way is and what it's about. Seeing the work firsthand, not hearing about it, which you can do and which is important, not reading about it, which you can do and which is important, but seeing the difference that United Way makes in the community is important. And more so, being able to be a part of that difference. Not just sitting on a committee, but really being able to get involved with things either that are directly connected with some of the programs that United Way supports at a huge number of agencies in the city, or coming up with things that we can also be doing ourselves that are directly or sort of tangentially connected with the community. It wasn't enough to just give. It wasn't enough to just plan. As we were talking to people earlier on in the process, we really heard clearly that they also wanted to be in a hands-on way part of the change that they made, and so volunteering was important there. And then the networking and professional development part of it really speaks to a different aspect of the leadership development.
Got it. So for people who are interested,
yes,
where can people learn more, and what asks do you have of people watching?
Yeah.
How do they get involved, and where can they learn more?
Yeah, I guess the ask that I would make to people who are watching is, if you are somebody who is in your early 20s to late 30s or very early 40s and you're interested, check us out. If you know of somebody who meets that description and you think they might be interested, make sure that they check us out. So that would be the first part of it. And the way that you would do that, you can either call United Way and ask to speak to Lauren Nantow, who is our key staff member. You can check out United Way's website, which is weareunited.com. You go to the little giving or give menu, and Emerging Philanthropists to drop down from that menu. And those are two great ways to check us out. And I think that all of that information is going to be provided on a link on the site here.
Got it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Oh God, there are a ton of things that I'd love to be able to add. I know that we're short on time.
Yeah.
Windsor Essex has we've got a lot of people, a lot of different sort of sub-communities living in this area, and part of what this initiative really has the opportunity to do through those the deliverables, through bringing people together, is to not just have a group of people who are thinking about themselves as philanthropists, which is part of it, but to really take those people and turn them into a community, not just a group of individuals, but a group of people who come together because they see the need and they see the opportunity for the community as something which is compelling, something to which they're committed, and which they're able to take action on in a way that is different from their own individual needs or their individual organizational needs, and say, we are prepared to work together to really make community happen for the community of which I'm a part.
Got it. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
I
Noah
really appreciate
Tepperman,
it.
everybody.
Thanks.
United Way Emerging Philanthropists. Hi, everyone, and I am here with Kim Willis, the Director of Communications, Mental Health Promotion, and with Canadian Mental Health Association, and Kerri Hill, the Fund Development Officer, both with the Canadian Mental Health Association. And you have this Soul Focus project. Tell me a little bit about it.
So it was about a year ago that we realized that we had a renewed focus on mental health education, training, and awareness. And we wanted to do a campaign that would bring awareness to our renewed focus. And our goal was something that would be very creative and catchy, and people would want to be involved with. So with the help of a local marketing company, we launched the Soul Focus project.
And what is the purpose or goal of the project?
So the financial goal for the campaign is to raise about $500,000 over the next 3 years. And the other flip side is to just increase awareness around mental health and wellness, to have the community become involved in the campaign. Our tagline is to take a stand for mental health. So we, working with the Douglas Marketing Group, we came up with a really creative way for people to get involved in social media and take a stand. So part of the campaign is asking people to paint the soles of their shoes and sort of hold them up and do a selfie and say that they're part of the movement to eradicate stigma and bring greater awareness to mental health and wellness.
Great.
And it's also being very proactive in getting in front of some vulnerable populations that really need education and tips and tools. So, for example, youth is a huge huge population that we get a lot of requests from to reach out and do some training to them. So workplaces, going out and doing workshops and seminars. We also hold a youth summit annually where we bring 300 students together to educate them. So it's all of those things that keep it relevant and active and proactively seeking those people that need the training and education.
And what does that training look like?
It can range depending on the population, but for youth, a big focus is dealing with stress and anxiety, resiliency, and that's for both, I would say, across the board. That's a huge one. What was the other one? Overcoming anxiety. It's basically whatever, we can tailor it to what the needs of the audience are.
Can we talk a little bit more about mental health in youth? I feel like I've heard.
It's definitely every school or group that we talk to, they're seeing numbers bursting at the seams.
That's what I've heard.
And I think you can trace that back to a number of factors. But nonetheless, like everyone from, we have seen grade 1 classes want us to come in all the way up to colleges and universities. So it's a wide spectrum. And for whatever reasons, they are, seeing increased anxiety, depression, and sometimes much more severe cases.
Do you think part of it is that with people being more open about it and less stigmatized, maybe it was always there, but now people are coming forward? Do you think that could be part?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a large component. I think social media is huge with creating a whole bunch of new issues that we didn't face a generation ago. And I think also we've done so much for our children to give them a great life that when they are faced with struggles, they don't have the tools to necessarily deal with it. So hence resiliency training is a big request.
Yes. So the campaign runs, is it from February it's begun?
It was launched last February.
Is there a deadline, or it's until you hit that $500,000?
It's a 3-year campaign.
Yeah, okay, great.
Regardless.
Yes.
And one of the great things about the campaign, and there are several, but is that we have now over 20 strategic partners who are large players in the community. So everyone from Caesars Windsor, the city, Hotel Dieu Grace Healthcare, Unifor, the list goes on and on of people that know about this campaign and that are involved in some way, shape, or form. And there's also over 20 ambassadors who are people from every walk of life that have wanted to lend their face and take a stand for mental health, if you will, and have been great at bringing awareness and focus to the cause.
So if people want to get involved, how can they do that?
There's a dedicated website, soulfocusproject.ca, and you can go on there and there's tips and ways that how you can get involved and to contact us.
Great. And the hashtag?
Show your soul.
Show your soul.
Yes.
All right. Show your soul. The Soul Focus Project. Thank you, Kerri Hill and Kim Willis from the Canadian Mental Health Association.
Thanks.
This is Ingrid Qemo, and Ingrid is starting a riot, which we'll get to in a second. But Ingrid, I know, so people have there's many people who say, I didn't do well in science, for example, and I went into a career or a job and just I'm not good at math or science, and suddenly you have a relative who has cancer.
Right.
And it hits you, and you want to learn what you can, and it might feel over your head, and you have a hard time connecting what the research means to how it applies to your everyday life. Is that something that you've seen? That's something that I've noticed with people. And tell me a little bit about that. What you've seen, what you've seen with the public, and their connection with research.
Yeah, so I think the public's connection with research in general, regardless of whether it's cancer research or whatever, it's kind of disconnected. So this is where we come in as the Riot Team. So the Riot Team is a research information outreach team, and we work under the Canadian Cancer Society. And we essentially want to present and educate what research is to the general audience or to the lay audience, right? Someone who wouldn't understand the papers that we read on a daily basis, someone who wouldn't understand something like what we do as basic scientists or as clinicians, and we want to convey that information to them as clearly as possible. You see a lot of disengagement with the public and scientists, and it's very critical and very important to kind of bridge this gap. When we bridge this gap, this is when we get people who are reaching out to ask questions, people who become more involved, people who are willing to even donate money to research because now they understand what that money is doing.
Right. And tell me actually about yourself as well, and who you are and what you do, and your connection to all of this.
Right. So I'm a PhD candidate student at the University of Windsor, and I work under Dr. Lisa Porter. She's a basic scientist. We do cancer research in the lab. My cancer research focuses mostly on brain cancer, but we also do breast cancer and liver cancer in the lab. And we started this team, this Riot Team, off of as a group of students. So, and at many different events, we see the disconnect with people, right? So the Canadian Cancer Society, actually 5 other universities in Canada have a Riot Team. So we thought, why not make one here in Windsor? We have a great community. We have a great general public that really wants to learn. And that's kind of how we got it started.
So you do, is it mainly talks that you do?
So we're just kind of starting off. This is our first year. What we want to try and do is a website, first of all. We're going to be doing blog posts on there. So anything that comes out that's super interesting, whether it comes out of the University of Windsor or local clinicians, or whether it's coming out more Canada-wide or international-wide, something that's breakthrough in cancer research, we're going to present it to the public. We're going to let them know this is awesome, but researchers and scientists have worked many years to come to this, right? So that's kind of going to be one of our main focuses. Another one of our focuses is going to also be presentations. So we're going to be giving public presentations, whether it's to high school students, more general audiences. We'd love to give presentations to cancer survivors. Something we've done in the past has been bringing cancer survivors to the university and having them walk through our labs. So just seeing like what it is that we do on a daily basis, right? It's very important for them to kind of see that. It makes them more connected to us, right? We're not sitting in this like ivory tower,
You're a real person.
just conducting stuff. And
you mean you don't wear like a white lab coat all the time up and down the streets?
Not all the time.
Right.
No. Right. So it's important for them to see that and to get engaged, and for us to show them these are the cells we work with. This is the techniques we use, and it's very interesting for them too.
And what are some of the topics that you'll hit on in these presentations?
So we're going to be hitting on a lot of topics. The first I think that we're going to try to tackle is cancer myths. So there's a lot of stuff out there that you hear, and do genetically modified foods increase cancer rate? Does this increase cancer rate? And people are so influenced by what they hear and what they read. So we want to really divide these facts out. What's fact and what's fiction. And we want to let the audience know.
What do you think it does for somebody when they can better understand how science and cancer research affects their life?
So what I think it helps them understand is, number one, where is all of the money going to? And I think people, that's a very big concern with people, right? Like, we have the cure. This is the thing. People think there's a cure, and there isn't a cure for cancer. First of all, different types of cancers need different cures, right? Cancer is hundreds of diseases that have occurred. So brain cancer versus breast cancer, you're going to have to give different treatments. Even brain cancer, like if one person and another person had the same type of brain cancer, they need personalized medicine, right? The same treatment is not going to be as efficient or have the same efficacy it does in one person than it does in another person. So that's something that definitely has to be taken into consideration. And that's something we want to teach the audience, right? There's no one cure. We work endless hours to try and finally get a drug into clinical trials. And when you get a drug into clinical trials, it could fail. And most of the time it does fail. So getting that drug out there eventually, people don't know, but it's taken 15 to 20 years of basic science to eventually get that drug out there.
Do you have any tips or advice for somebody who maybe they feel overwhelmed by research, or they don't know where to start, or they don't know how to understand it? What are some tips or ways of thinking, or even resources that you would recommend to people who want to better understand research in cancer?
Honestly, I think it's great if people reach out to researchers like myself. If I got an email and it said, you know, I'm going through something, someone in my family recently got cancer, or you know, if a supervisor gets an email like that, they're very keen on giving them the facts. So as scientists, we want to give people the facts, right? The truth. And it's better to come to someone who has knowledge and who has information and who can guide you in the right direction of what to read and what's true versus what not to read and what's not true, right? You go on Google and you Google something and you find a million things that come up, right? So to try and decipher what's right and what's wrong, it gets complicated, you know, as a lay person. So even having someone that can guide you and say, this is what I would look for, this is what I wouldn't look for. It's very important.
Great. So for people who do want to reach out and do want to learn more, how can they reach out, and how can they learn more?
So they can definitely reach out to our Riot Team for sure. We have about 8 or 9 students right now. They can reach out to, if you're looking locally, we have the Windsor Cancer Research Group, the Canadian Cancer Society. There's a lot of great Canadian foundations that do cancer research and implement grants, right? So they can always look to websites and resources like that for sure.
Perfect. Is there anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
This is Ingrid Qemo. She's starting a Riot here in Windsor. If you are interested in learning more about cancer or research, or where your dollars go and how they make an impact, learn more about Riot, and thanks for watching. And now we are here with Simon Edwards and Mike Kovaliv. If you've been to, I'm sure, at least one event over the past week, you've seen at least one of them out and about. You've both been with SNAP now for how long, would you say? 3.5 years for me. Yeah.
Yeah, just a little less than that for me. Yeah.
And to get right into this, tell me each what your first event was that you shot for SNAP.
Mine was a hockey rink. It was a skate, from what I remember. Honestly, when you cover thousands of events like we have, 3.5 years ago is a tough question.
Oh yeah. Did anything stand out about the first one?
Cute kids. Yeah, I remember a lot of cute kids, a lot of people having fun. I think it was a fundraiser, but I'm not exactly sure what it was for.
Great. Yeah. And how about yourself?
Mine was actually, I believe it was the World Diaper Challenge in Bell
Sounds
River.
Messy.
Yeah, it was. But that was interesting.
What was that like?
That was good. Yeah, lovely kids again.
What was the event?
It was actually called the World Diaper Challenge, and there were these kids, and I don't know whether they had to have a speed change of a diaper or something like that. I actually can't remember because, as Mike said, it's quite a long time ago now. But it was enjoyable.
And you're both. This isn't the only kind of photography that you each do, correct?
Right.
So I'm curious, what makes why do this kind of work, and what makes shooting for SNAP different than other forms of photography?
Well, for me personally, I do photography full-time. I've been full-time the last almost 8 years. I started bumping into Jeff Casey, the owner, and at events. And when you bump into a photographer, you start talking about what cameras you got and that kind of stuff. So we kind of started having a little relationship that way. Then I found out what he was doing, because I was just covering the odd events. I do commercial work and portraits and headshots. And what is Snapped? What's it all about? So he told me what it was all about. And I thought, what a brilliant idea, obviously, right? To get the community events covered maybe in a way that other maybe media doesn't cover them, right? Gives everybody a bit more of an equal playing field. I thought it was great. So I jumped in, and I think to me it's been brilliant, because it's totally changed my view of what goes on in the city. The amount of events we cover and the amount of things that are going on just changes your view of how giving the city is, how many people are involved. Anybody who says there's nothing to do in Windsor needs to get off the couch, turn the TV off, and get out there, because we cover up to 300 events a month sometimes, and it's just changed my view of the city totally. It's been great.
Would you say it's changed your view, or did you have?
Oh, for sure.
How have things changed since you?
I came to Windsor. I came to Canada in 2004. So from Liverpool, England.
Okay, figured.
Yeah.
and I'm from England too.
Yeah,
People
really?
don't know that, but I moved here so
Yeah.
early I lost my accent. So we're both British.
So under the age of 6?
I was like 7 when I moved here.
Yeah.
So.
But I can still hear the Wolverhampton accent, actually.
Interesting.
But,
Yeah, Wolverhampton.
But and I'm a photographer as well. I had a Main Street studio back in England, so I was shooting weddings and portraits back in the film days. And again, like Mike said, I was interested in not interested, but I was astounded by the amount of events that were happening in Windsor. It's only when you start looking through a snapped paper that you actually see how many events, be they small, large, medium, that are actually happening out there. So it changed my point of view of Windsor. It's a very friendly city. There's so much going on every day. You know, it's good.
And for people who have their own camera, even if it's their own cell phone, can we do 3 tips each on how to take a nice, let's say, family portrait or portrait of friends at an event or party?
Sure.
What are some things to think about?
Number one, I would say keep your both eyes open when you put the camera to your eye so you can see what's going on around you. Number 2 would be probably try to stay really steady so you don't shake. Would be another good thing. Number 3, I would say, is try to avoid a really, really bright light behind people. You always get that black silhouetted type of picture. Would be the best thing. Those would be my 3 quick tips.
How about yourself?
I would say get as close to the subject as possible. Fill the frame. Mike's just actually taken one of mine.
Oh yeah, I had that feeling. I think I have
try and get everyone to smile. Always take at least 2 pictures, because if someone's going to blink, it's very difficult to get into Photoshop, especially if you're using a camera phone.
The biggest cheat, or the thing I thought about the most when I was taking photos, is how can I get people to come facing a window?
Yeah.
Because the light is so flattering compared to like an overhead light. So keep that in mind too.
Sure.
And then for people who I think maybe they're not taking as many pictures, but at one point or another, someone's going to be on camera, and I'm sure you've seen. Do you have any tricks of how to have a better picture taken of you or come across better?
Relax. Try to relax. Try to just be yourself. I think a lot of times people try to pose too much. I hate that word pose. Try to just be yourself and relax. And easier said than done, right? But that's what I would say. Try to just be comfortable. If you can get a rapport with the person and you're more comfortable and relaxed, then it's better. It's always better.
Right. How about yourself?
Same thing. Tell a few jokes, crack a joke, get some smiles. Yeah,
exactly.
All right. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
As far as tips?
Yeah, or just about Snapped, or is there a story that comes to mind?
A story that comes to mind.
I'm sure there's so many.
Boy, can't think of a story. I would just say again that it's one of my favorite thing about Snapped is that when you go somewhere for an event, everybody is thrilled to see you. I don't think there's any other shooting that I do where people are so happy, where they're like, people come up and hug you, they want to give you food, you know, they're like, we're so happy you're here. And I think it's great for the community because their voice of their event, whether it be a large event or be it a really small thing with 5 people. They're like, we're getting coverage, and that's they're so thrilled. So that's great. It always makes you feel welcome. Yeah.
And we're beginning to get recognized as well. Snap's here, and it's almost when there's a snap photographer there, it's like, this is an event now, kind of thing.
Cool.
That's how we feel.
Right.
Sure,
like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest challenges, people confuse us a lot.
Absolutely.
Like, Simon,
that's why I wear the hat, but I still get it.
We get confused, and they always say, Simon wears the hat.
Yeah.
I don't wear the hat. So that's what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's great, because if someone doesn't like the photograph, I just say,
It's
must have been my
yeah,
money.
exactly.
Yeah, so.
And for the event planners out there, I'm sure you've had enough, at least just a first, I'm sure in a kind of a first impression, you can tell which events stand out more, or someone really wants to make their event different and special. Do you have any tips from that side of things about what makes for a good event?
If it's a larger event and you've got a budget, I would say invest in lighting a little bit. It's, a lot of times if you're stuck in a dark basement and it's really, really no windows and it's very kind of a dark place, that can make it a little bit challenging from a photography standpoint, and just from a mood standpoint. So if you can put a little money in lighting, or if you know somebody who can bring some or whatever, I think that's a good thing to do.
Great.
It always just seems to liven up the event for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Likewise, what Mike was saying.
More lighting for the photographers.
Absolutely.
Make it easy on you guys.
Oh, for sure.
And then for one final thing, these photos behind us are snap photos, and I wonder, out of each of you, who has more photos back here?
Tough to tell.
Who wins?
Tough to tell.
I would say Mike. I would definitely say
probably me.
This one's you. Okay.
Yeah, probably me. This one right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You love these 2 cuties from Amherstburg.
Great.
Yeah, but you know what? We've taken thousands and thousands and thousands of pictures at a lot of events, and it's nice. It's nice to see a collection of them there for sure.
It is.
Yeah. All right. This has been Simon Edwards, Mike Kovaliv. Say hi to them at the next event, and we'll see you on the next show.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you have an idea of who you'd like to see or another topic or cause that matters to you, leave a comment on the WePodcast or Snapped Windsor Facebook pages, and we'll see you in the next episode.